What if I told you that you could learn to read pretty much anyone? And no, not with magic, but with actual science. Today, we're going to break down the psychological tricks that show you what someone is really thinking. Seriously, this is a skill anyone can get the hang of, and we're going to start right now.
And to prove my point, I'm going to try and read your mind. Yep, your mind, right through the screen. Just follow along with me for a second. You ready?
Okay, here we go. First, I want you to think of a country that starts with the letter D. Just the first one that pops into your head. Got it? Okay, now take the second letter of that country's name, and with that new letter, think of an animal. Got the animal? Good. Okay, I'm willing to bet you thought of Denmark and an elephant. How'd I do? It's a classic. And you know what's crazy? Studies show that over 90% of people come up with that exact same answer. So, what's going on here? Well, it's not magic. It's just psychology. Our brains are basically wired to follow these predictable patterns, kind of like mental shortcuts. When you hear country starting with D, for most people, Denmark is the most common, top-of-mind answer. And just like that trick, people give off all sorts of signals without even knowing it. So today, we're learning how to spot them. Let's kick things off with the most obvious place, the face. We all think we've got our expressions under control, but the truth? It has a funny way of slipping out without us even noticing. First, let's play the game of eyes. You've probably heard this one, right? The idea is that if someone looks up and to their left, they're pulling up a real memory. But if they look up and to the right, they're making something up. Now, full disclosure, studies have shown this isn't some foolproof lie detector test, but it's a great example of the kinds of patterns we look for. The trick is to see it as just one small clue in a bigger puzzle, not the whole story.
All right, on to the smile test. Most of the smiles you see day to day are just polite. But a genuine smile, what scientists call a Duchenne smile, it's a whole face event. It actually crinkles the corners of the eyes, and it lasts a little longer, maybe 7 or 8 seconds. A fake social smile? It's quicker, like 4 or 5 seconds, and it really only uses the mouth and cheeks. The real story, you'll always find it in the eyes.
And the lips? Oh, they tell a story all on their own. If someone tucks their lips inward, it can be a sign of nervousness. Maybe they're holding something back. If they're biting their lip, it often just means their mind has kind of drifted off somewhere else. And you definitely want to watch for someone who keeps touching their lips or their face. It can be this unconscious signal that they're trying to hide something. Even a simple head movement is super revealing. If someone tilts their head a bit while you're talking, that's a great sign. It shows they're interested and engaged. But what about that super fast, repetitive nodding? That usually signals impatience. They're basically trying to say, get on with it. So it's the quality of the movement that really matters more than the movement itself. Okay, so we've looked at the face. Now let's zoom out and look at the rest of the body, which has its own, very powerful language.
Hand movements tell you a ton about how comfortable someone is. Open hands, palms up, some natural gestures. That's someone who's engaged and open to talking. But what about folded arms or wringing hands? That's a classic defensive move. It suggests they're either nervous or just not really interested in opening up to you.
Now for one of the most honest parts of the body, and it's one you probably never think about, the feet. It's funny, right? We're so focused on controlling our faces, but we totally forget about our feet. If someone's feet are pointed toward you, they're in the conversation. But if their feet are angled away, maybe toward the door, their body's literally telling you they are psychologically ready to leave. All right, time for our final and maybe the most powerful technique of all. This is a super simple method you can use in pretty much any conversation to get a better sense of someone's honesty. We'll just call it the ultimate truth test. It's a really easy 3-step process. First, you just ask a direct question. Second, and this is the most important part, you pause. You say absolutely nothing. Just let the silence hang there for a second. And third, you just watch. Observe how they handle that silence and how they reply.
Their reaction to that silence tells you everything. A normal, comfortable, evenly paced reply? Probably the truth. A super fast, rushed reply? They're often trying to rush past something they want to hide. And if there's a lot of hesitation or stuttering, that's a pretty strong sign they're making up a lie right there on the spot. That silence, it forces them to show their hand.
So you see, when you start putting all these little pieces together, you're not just having conversations anymore. You're actually decoding them. And this isn't about being cynical or suspicious. It's about being observant, about understanding people on a much deeper level.
So let's do a quick-fire recap of all the tells. Remember to watch the eyes. Look for the difference between a real smile and a fake one. See what their lips are revealing. Notice the head tilts. Check out the open versus closed hands. And don't forget the surprising honesty of the feet. And of course, use the incredible power of the pause.
These tools can give you some amazing insight, but just remember, they're clues, not hard and fast conclusions. The real power comes from seeing them all together in context. So my final question for you is this. Now that you know all the signs, what will you notice first?